Still on a journey to go from being a part-time to full-time artist. I was watching a video today, someone else who had tried the whole artist game for a year was basically talking about quitting. This YouTuber was saying how that they tried to be a full-time freelance illustrator, or sounding a bit more like an artist in general, artist, designer, creative, and gave it a good shot, but it didn't work out. And I wondered if I was just getting that video recommended, given the fact that that's basically what I talk about, or words to that effect a lot, how the whole game isn't actually as easy as some other more probably bigger YouTube stars in the art and design space would have you believe. Not that they're particularly trying to sell an idea that anyone can do it. Obviously it's hard work, and they're just talking about their own personal experience. But the trouble is, for every competent, successful artist, I call them the one percenters. Obviously, given that they are the one percenters, there's going to be 99% of people who don't quite make it, but they're never the ones you hear about because, they're not successful and they're not rolling in cash. They haven't got the time, money, resources to talk about their experience necessarily, unless they've tried it for a while, tried to sort of be happy and positive and optimistic, and they put out 50, 100, 500 videos or social media posts talking about how it's all going great, and projecting the sort of positive image until the last post you see from them. And the last post is always, "I've been trying this, it ain't working, so long internet." I always sort of wonder what then becomes of these people who completely give up and then move on to other things. Or do they just get a completely different job do they get a quote unquote proper job? Do they work for their local government office, their council, their local shops down their local streets? Always just wonder what becomes of people. But obviously, anyone starting up, typically, unless you get lucky, unless you're one of the one percenters, you're going to have to obviously do other work to subsidize your living, work part-time, as well as create artwork part-time. And as was highlighted in this video, she was basically saying I wasn't cut out for it. She's saying how she built a little sort of personal art studio, a space she would go to, but despite that, she was feeling lonely and wasn't motivated. Actually did less work having her own art studio than she did prior to that, which was sort of opposite of, I think, what she was expecting, obviously. And I kind of know what it's like, because I did the whole thing of having at the minute, my art studio work area is basically where I live, so that's just how I'm rolling at the minute. And in theory, it is quite good having a separate space in a separate location that you get in the car, you drive to work, you do the thing. But that in isolation isn't the issue. I think really the issue with a lot of freelance creative types is, well, it's motivation. And why do they need motivation? Because they can't self-generate it. Because basically, when you're freelancing, you're doing everything yourself. You are the creative professional, you are the consultant, the analyst, the marketer, the salesperson, the researcher, the accountant. You're just trying to do everything yourself. But that whole journey, because you can't spread the workload between a team of sort of at least a dozen people, it means that the whole journey is a lot slower. It's going to take you a long time to get there, because once you've finished basically one member of staff's role that might take you a couple of months, you then have to move on to the next one, then the next one, the next one. Years can go by to complete a project which obviously a small team could do in a matter of months. And when it's taken years to complete a project, you're not getting that immediate feedback. Is this working? Is this not? And it's just part of the human condition, whereby if you're not getting any positive reinforcement for the work you're doing, then you start to think, well, is this going anywhere? Is there any point to this? Should I be doing something else? The general advice you'd hear from, I guess, the personal development, efficiency bros, that kind of community is just, as I've said before, stop complaining, just get on with it. But how many months, years, decades do you stop complaining and just get on with it before you need to sort of think, whoa, 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 I don't know if just stop complaining and getting on with it is the solution here. Obviously, I think that's probably the problem with a lot of people, maybe even most people. But there's probably still a significant chunk of people who are doing the quote unquote right things, and it's not quite working out. For example, did you know that I am the 2024 UK Manga Artist of the Year? So I'm actually really famous. I'm kind of joking, but well, I am completely joking. Well, I'm joking so far as I believe that myself, but I'm not joking as in the fact that I have won the Lux Life Award for, what was it? Creative and Visual Arts Award. So in the category of manga artist, I am 2024's UK Manga Artist of the Year. Just putting it out there, and I will be advertising that fact shortly. I kind of say that jokingly because, as I mentioned in a previous video, there are these awards that go around. People will email me and say, "Oh, would you like to register yourself for Illustrator of the Year award? You know, and if you win, then you can brag and say, look at me, I've won Illustrator of the Year for whatever website, magazine, company it is." And my thinking behind that was that it's a system whereby you basically pay money to do this. So you'll pay say £100 to enter yourself into these awards, and then the cynical, skeptical me would say, okay, the reason what's going to happen is you're going to pay £100. You're going to get a load of other idiots, a load of other mugs that are going to pay £100, and then basically one of those mugs is going to get picked as, the best, whatever, best chef of the year, best gardener of the year, best mechanic of the year, whatever. In my case, visual artist manga award thing person. So yeah, I've always been quite cynical, and I thought, just for lulz, just to see what would happen, I thought, yeah, okay, I'm going to respond to this one in particular that messaged me to ask if I wanted to be part of this award thing, just to see how far I would get in the process until they sort of hit me with the sort of the upsell sales spiel about how I have to pay the money if I want to get extra bonuses, benefits and stuff. And yeah, obviously that did come. There was oh, congratulations. Not only have you been nominated, but you've won the UK Manga Artist of the Year 2024 awards. So well done you. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, I guess that's good, even though, like, what the hell is Lux Life? Apparently this is some big, like, lifestyle culture web magazine. Is it? I don't know. And I couldn't be bothered to really research them. Maybe they're really big. Maybe they have 20 billion visitors to their website every minute, but I doubt it. But yeah, there was obviously an upsell at the end to say, oh, if you would like extra promotional material to tell all your clients about your prestigious award, then you can pay extra money to do so. But if not, you don't need to. And I was like, oh, okay, well that's interesting. I didn't think there would be a like a baseline, no catch version where you still got something for nothing, effectively, even though it is just a rando on the internet saying, yeah, you're an amazing artist, have an award, yeah. It's all I don't know. I think it's all a bit meaningless. But obviously, the point of these things is to, I don't know. It's just an award. You just stick it in, like an email footer or on your website to make you look good. It's genuine, apparently. Apparently there were a board of judges that checked out my work and thought, yes, this guy deserves an award. So yeah, I'm happy enough to have it, but it's a marketing gimmick, is what it is ultimately. It's one of these things. It's like, I know, being like a small business owner, being a sort of individual creative, not even being a creative, but yeah, just a small business owner, I guess, that, because I'm not easily suckered into this sort of thing. Maybe there are other things I'm easily suckered into, but not this kind of thing. Yeah, I just know it's a weird little, I don't know, what is it? Is it a scam? It's a scam without being a scam, sort of thing. It's like, oh, I don't know how to describe it. Yeah, hopefully you know what I'm trying to say. But yeah, it's kind of funny because I might start introducing myself as the 2024 UK Manga Artist of the Year, and you know, I could, you know, on paper I could talk about some of the other accolades I've had, which, you know, are genuine. Like, I'm not lying that I won this award. I'm not lying that, you know, I wrote and authored some best-selling how to draw manga books over the years. I'm not lying when I say that my books have sold like nearly 1 million copies globally, translated into several languages. It's not a lie, but it's kind of funny because obviously on YouTube at this stage, I'm at the bottom rungs. I'm a nobody. You know, I've got a couple of hundred subscribers. No one's really watching these videos, as in, you know, no more than, you know, it's going to be single to double digits. And how many of those probably click off after the first 10 seconds? I mean, I think they probably make up about 90% of views. So, I mean, I could say anything. You know, I could just casually, you know, say, you know, I could say some truths. I could say, oh yeah, I've won these awards. I've had all this success in publishing, and but no one's really gonna no one's gonna care because no one's gonna watch this video. So I might as well instead just be honest and say, yes, that side of it is true, but let's explore, I guess, the not so positive side, the part that doesn't kind of go on my curriculum vitae, the bits that I'm not gonna put on my resume, the bits about, you know, like what was said in this recent YouTube video that I watched, for example, like dealing with loneliness and the times where you're not making any money and the stress and the anxiety when you're not motivated and you're not therefore doing work, and then you're feeling guilty and stressed and anxious that you're not doing things. You know, I'm not gonna put that on my CV. I'm not gonna mention any of that, but it's a true thing that happened and that does happen, and I guess this is the space to talk about that kind of thing. So yeah, it's just a mixed bag. I always think it's funny as well when, you know, I mean, I almost don't know how these younguns do it. I mean, I try and not I try, but yeah, I mean, I try and stay relatively clued up with how the world is in a younger kind of space. I kind of feel like a lot of people my age, you know, they have kids, they go to work, they're busy, they don't have time to know what is kind of happening in sort of popular culture and sort of with people that are, you know, I guess any younger than they are. But obviously, a lot is happening because of the internet, and it seems like modernity has kind of just bent over and let the under 20s have their way with society. So I don't really think that's a good call, but that is what has happened, and therefore it's probably worth keeping up with trends and what the youngsters are doing these days. Um, but yeah, anyway, my point is I find it funny how you do get these kind of, I don't know, people that they say, oh yeah, I've just finished college or university, and I thought I'd set up a YouTube channel and I'd start posting on that, you know, and they do it, and then they know they have a degree of success. You know, they have these videos that might get tens of thousands of views, or they might build a subscriber count in the thousands. I'm like, oh, that's pretty good going considering, like, you know, you're just say, especially if it's like an art channel, you're just saying exactly the same thing that every other art channel artist is either saying or has said previously. Normally things like, oh, here's how to construct a hand, here's how to construct a head, here's a video on color theory. I mean, oh, if you want to watch a video on color theory, take your pick. There's about 2 billion of them on YouTube. I'm not saying that they're bad, it's good advice. And maybe there's nothing wrong with having different presenters presenting that information just in their own way. I'm not completely discounting it, but my point is people are pretty much just rinse and repeating the same thing, and they seem to do okay with it, which I find kind of, I guess this is just an observation, I kind of find it a bit weird that, and this isn't me you know, I don't want to sound bitter, or I probably will, but it's just a bit of it's kind of a weird point whereby you'll get some college kid who has almost no experience working as a freelancer, or as a professional, or as an artist or designer or an illustrator, and they'll create a whole YouTube channel around teaching how to be an illustrator or an artist. And yeah, it might just be hobby things, like you don't have to, obviously not everyone learning colour theory wants to become a professional artist. But it's funny how you can still have success there, whereby, on paper, I could just introduce myself as the UK 2024 Manga Artist of the Year and, talk about my book accolades, or whatever it is. I could say, I worked as a tattoo artist for 11 years. It's like, I don't know, does that not award me some extra kudos or views or likes or watching my stupid little rant videos for longer than 10 seconds? Probably not, but yeah, it's a weird thing. It's kind of, because sometimes, obviously, I'm putting videos onto YouTube. I'm making this public. I could just sit here with this camera turned off and just talk to myself out loud, which is something I actually do. I keep a almost a daily. I'd say more. It's more weekly, bi-weekly sometimes every other day, by daily voice log, like a diary, journal. Just when I need to just get stuff out of my head, I will narrate my thoughts, and I will do this, what I'm doing, to myself. I thought I would share some of it, at least, like what I'm doing now, with the world in some way. I'm not sharing it with the world. We're at a point now where we're 17 and a half minutes in, a little bit longer, to this video. And I would imagine that, just based on the last 10 videos of getting about, 30 views, and what I said about, only 10% of people are sticking around to watch maybe the whole video. Yeah, we've got 3 people at this point. You're one of 3 people that are taking in this guy's ranting. So I don't know whether to say sorry about that or thank you, but yeah, it's kind of just a weird thing. I think there must be an art to this ranting thing, though, because I've seen other people do it, and I think, God, people on the internet will watch anything. There was this, because I was starting to get a bit worried about some of my older videos from a few years ago, because it was just, mostly it was just a picture and then me just in the bottom corner of the screen, just trying to talk over it, because it was so small, because the webcam that I had was so poor quality. And even though this phone that I've got is not great quality, it's not the latest phone, it's not a dedicated camera, it's a few steps up from where it was. And but yeah, I saw a video the other day where the guy obviously he didn't care about the quality of his video. He didn't think, oh, you know what, I'm going to get some nice little light strips in the back to just make it look all special and, give a little bit of a glow. He was just in his car, look like this, with the phone right up to his face. Yeah, I can't even remember what this video was. I'm sort of referring to something that I saw a couple of weeks ago, and I don't know what it was about. It was just some guy who looked like a homeless person, just going, I don't know what's going on. Everything in the world. Oh, I don't understand what's going on in the world today. And I was like, okay, what the hell is this? I think it must have been something that just popped up on a news feed or something. And it had tens of thousands of views. And I thought, okay, this guy, I don't know who he is. I don't know what's going on here. But it just goes to show you don't, or he, in that particular video, in order to get views or whatever, he didn't need to worry about making sure the first 10 seconds of your video are really good, or make sure the lighting looks kind of good, or make sure the camera quality is good, make sure the sound is good, make sure you've got a good quality microphone lined up, or whatever. Make sure you could put like some nice high quality 4K B-roll footage in the background, something which I still don't really do that often. I just think it's too much effort. But yeah, it just kind of went to show that, I don't know, I don't know what the answer is. And I think the answer is, it got recommended on my news feed. That's what it was. And it must have gotten recommended on loads of people's news feeds. And I imagine if I do like 100 videos, there's going to be one of those, which for some random reason, pretty random, YouTube's just going to sort of think, oh, should we test this guy's video? Let's just throw it in front of like 1,000 people and see what happens. And it might resonate with people, it might not, I don't know. If it does, then it could turn into a video that gets thousands of views or whatever. But yeah, that's just what I think's going on there. So the point is, with stuff like that, it's just luck. It's just random luck. It's like the YouTube algorithm is just going to, feed you whatever it thinks. And normally it gets it pretty right. When I compare my news feed to, my friends' news feeds, we all seem to have good stuff that we kind of all generally like to watch. I kind of find it funny how I've got friends who are in some ways quite different to me, but we still have the same YouTubers popping up on our news feed, which aren't necessarily the biggest ones with the hundreds or tens of thousands of or millions, should I say, of subscribers. But yeah, I don't know what's going on there. But yeah, we all have a similar sort of news feed, but it is different. And it's just obviously something, like I think with YouTube, basically for most people, correct me if I'm wrong, this is just going by my small circle, is we cultivate a feed, a news feed, just stuff that pops up in our list after searching for things. And if we don't search for anything new, we'll just basically be getting more of the same. Or eventually YouTube's going to throw in a few extra anomalies. And if we click them, then the YouTube's going to be like, oh, okay, well, you clicked this weird anomaly. Let me give you more stuff like that. It's not necessarily a bad system, but yeah, it's just a weird thing when you know that every day there are hundreds of thousands of people putting YouTube videos up online or social media posts in general. And how do people know that what to watch? Do people know what they're missing? Obviously not. And I'm not trying to be all high and mighty to think that I deserve like 5 million views on this video. I would feel probably sick, genuinely sick, if that happened, because I'd be like, oh, holy shit! Like, at least I could have done something good, rather than it just being like a random load of observational rants about things. But yeah, sometimes you do. I mean, yeah, it's a weird mixture of thinking like, well, I am going to the effort to put something online, and even though I haven't quite figured out what the hell I'm doing, so far as what is my shtick, what is my spiel, it's more like what I'm really doing, I guess, is just trying to sort of document my journey to become full-time as an artist. Trouble is, it's going to be a long journey, and me just saying, oh, today I drew this picture, oh, I drew that picture, or oh, while I'm here, let me just create a video about color theory and how to construct a head or something. I don't know, I just don't want to do that. I feel like it's been done a billion times. But perhaps the journey to becoming an artist is to realize you have to jump through the hoops, you have to do the thing. And maybe that's what I need to do. And it's not like I haven't done it. I think this is the trouble. It's like, if I hadn't done any tutorial content in my life, then I might think, oh, you know what, I might do some tutorial content. But I have. I mean, I was probably one of the first. I think I can safely say I was one of the first, not literally, but the first few thousand people ever on the whole internet to put online art tutorials up, specifically like Photoshop coloring tutorials. Because obviously, I was creating websites and putting stuff up on my website back in like 1999 and 2000. 25 years ago. I had tutorial content before probably like 90% of people even knew what the internet was. I mean, that's hard. I think for anyone under 30, they probably probably couldn't even imagine what that would be like. Or certainly anyone under like 15 or 20, they'd be like, what? A life without internet? A life where most people didn't even know what the internet was? So yeah, I mean, I did. So I put the tutorial stuff up long ago on my website. I was just giving it away. The thing is, I wasn't monetizing any of this stuff. I maybe missed a trick. I just put it up there because I thought people might find it useful. Nothing wrong with that. I think a lot of content that goes online is like that. But yeah, so I put some online tutorials up, and that's what kind of led to the book projects that I did, the how to draw books and the rest of it. And then yeah, I've done several how to draw books, how to draw manga books, or how to create digital art things, and or just colouring, colouring books. So now the thought of like, going back and doing like, here's how to draw a hand, or here's how to like, because it's funny, even though I've, in some ways, especially in the traditional media, traditional book publishing scene, I've done quite a bit so far as getting the how to draw books out goes. But even at the time, like I think I've said before, I never felt super confident and competent and with my art ability, or certainly not my teaching ability, and which wasn't necessarily a bad thing for reasons I've previously mentioned. But yeah, I don't know. I just don't know. I don't know if I'd want to really do that. I kind of feel like it's just annoying when you know that something exists and you think, well, I could do that, but also, what's the point? I could do a lot of things. I could produce and create a lot of stuff, but why would you? That obviously doesn't stop a lot of people. Think of something like soap. Soap's been around for probably a couple of 100 years, sort of commercial soap. And every year there's a new range of soaps that come out, different soap brands, or, just different ways of presenting soap. So, you can keep rinsing and repeating, even though, these things exist. But I mean, I at least prefer the idea of, at least to the best of my knowledge, trying to create something or bring something original into this world. And that is pretty hard to do now because of the internet. Everything's been done, and if it hasn't, it's probably just because you don't know it's been done, or it's going to be about to be done. So anyway, just some random thoughts there. But yeah, so just going back to this video about this girl talking about trying the art thing for a year. So yeah, she had tried it for a year, was discussing her little journey, and then gave it up, and is at a point now, I guess, where she's like, well, what do I do? I guess I'll do YouTube. I'll create little videos, kind of like what I'm doing, but probably a bit more polished and with a bit more pizzazz. But yeah, fair enough. Yeah, some people aren't cut out for it, but I started to wonder then, like, am I cut out for it? Because like, this is someone who basically said, I tried to do it for a year and then quit. So it's like, either you didn't try it long enough. Is a year long enough? Maybe not. Maybe for things like that, you need a few years. Maybe they didn't try it the right way. So it's all good and well saying, I'm going to be an artist, but did you seriously take into account all the pitfalls that would sort of come your way and how you would then deal with them? Because, theoretically, you can deal with anything. Every job is going to have its pros and cons. And you could systematically go through those, write a list, okay, well, what are the cons? And then it's like, well, now I'm going to write a list of how I'm going to tackle each of those cons, and the sort of procedures, steps and changes to, the whole work environment, the way I'm working, all the things I would do basically to change those things. You could do it. So maybe it was the wrong approach. But also maybe that's a good enough time. I think a lot of people would feel like, I feel like a failure because I did something, and I did it for a whole year. until I pulled out and realised, no, I'm not going to do this. You know, it's a weird mixture, but equally, I think it would be even worse to just not have tried. You know, the amount of people that say, "Oh yeah, well, I'm going to be an artist one day, or I'm going to be a writer, I'm going to be a musician one day." I mean, I just need to start, and as soon as I start, it's all going to work out. But then they don't start, and I think they don't start because they know that it's really, really hard, and they know deep down that they haven't got the balls to stick to it. I think people just think. I think people they can feel happy in the fact that, in their imagination at least, they know that if they did it, it would all be successful and it would all work out. And that to them, and maybe they're right for thinking this, that is better than trying a thing and it failing. Because I mean, really, if you knew that it would all work out, you would probably just go ahead and do it. If not, why would you even think about doing it? But that's what people do. I think people are too scared to try, because if it doesn't work out, they're going to feel like a failure for wasting their time or not being competent enough. I think people are worried it's going to highlight their inadequacies. If people, you know, try and start a new venture, learn a new skill, and they realise they're actually no good at it, especially the ones that have stuck with it despite that. You know, and like I say, you're sort of encouraged these days to do that, you know, for good reason. You know, you want to be someone who isn't a quitter and who can see things through, and that's the hallmark. Well, that's a hallmark of success. No one was successful by just trying it for a few months and then quitting, and then suddenly, you know, a year later, well, I'm sure there is someone like this, but I'm thinking, yeah, suddenly someone a year later just said, "Oh, wow, I'm successful. It all just worked out." No, normally you just got to persevere with things. You've got to really persevere, and it's just, you've got to do it no matter what. And, you know, there's just pretty much 100% correlation between sticking with things and being successful at something. But that doesn't mean, and I think this is what is quite confusing to people, myself included, that sticking to things will equal success. I think you can go months, years, decades, a whole lifetime without succeeding in that endeavour. And well, that can be pretty difficult to come to terms with as well. Perhaps in some ways harder to deal with than never have even tried to do it. Because what happens if you want to be good at something, you want a career in something, whatever it is, and you try and do that thing, you try really hard, or at least to the hardest of your abilities. Maybe objectively people would think, well, you know, working 2 hours a day on a quote unquote career isn't a career. And maybe they're right, but maybe that's all you can manage. But either way, you're giving it your all, the best that you personally can manage. And then you might do that for years. You know, you might still, you know, you might be doing what, you know, is considered a lot of work by most people to do this endeavour. But then it just doesn't work out. Decades later, you're left thinking, oh, all that effort for nothing. And perhaps that feeling of like all that effort for nothing is worse than that kind of, you know, that lie that other people might tell to themselves that they could have done it, they just didn't even try. So they don't, you know, they got nothing, they haven't lost anything. But then I think that's life, really. Life really is just a continual struggle, or a continual push forward at least. So you've always got to be pushing forward, because as soon as you don't, you die. So, you know, if you're not chasing a dream, basically, then what are you doing? You know, you're surviving, but then you're still having to move forward to survive. You can't just sit there and not work, not eat, not look after yourself. So, yeah, I think we all just got to do what we got to do, and maybe it's not so bad to sort of have a dream and to persevere. So I don't know, because I mean, I kind of feel like I'm in the camp of like not just giving it a good go for a year and quitting, then feeling a sense of shame that it didn't work out, despite the fact that I've spent a year doing it. I mean, I could argue that despite a few accolades, you know, what the hell have I succeeded in? No, like I say, I've got this weird. I'm in a weird position where, on paper, you know, I wouldn't say famous, but you know, we're talking maybe Z list, Y list celebrity status. I mean, like I've been invited to like comic conventions and events as a guest artist, as a VIP. They will pay me to turn up just so I can attend, and most of the time just sell my artwork. And just me being there is the draw for the show, which is kind of ironic considering I'm someone on YouTube who's at this stage probably down to like 1 or 2 viewers on a YouTube video. But yeah, it's just a funny thing, isn't it? But yeah, I don't know where I'm going with this, but yeah, it's it's just a funny thing that yeah, I feel like I haven't really figured out this whole success thing, and I've been doing it for 30 years and still trying to get there. But I guess that's part of what this series is. It's like, okay, last ditch attempt, try and become an artist. There you go. You've got 100 videos in which you've got to do it in, or 200. I haven't really set a limit on it. I think this is video 18 or 19 at this point of this series, where I'm just talking about all this kind of stuff, ranting really, just talking about day-to-day life issues. This isn't going to be the last video, so plenty more to say. But yeah, this is just winging it. This isn't talking about a subject, and I kind of have tried to not wing it a little bit. There's a few videos I did not long ago where I looked at a topic. You know, it's like, oh, there's an article here that talks about whatever, something to do with art. Let me just go through it, talk about it, discuss it. I think having something like that on an occasion is probably a good idea, having some kind of focus. But at the same time, maybe it's not such a bad idea just to rant and get stuff off my chest. But yeah, so far as just I guess the general status update of how the becoming an artist goal is going for me right now. It's going slow, and I could relate a lot to this this other YouTuber's talk about what they were doing and how they were struggling to get motivation, how things weren't working out. And I think I'm kind of dealing with a couple of things. Firstly, it's like a lack of real genuine motivation. Like I don't wake up in the morning looking forward to work, looking forward to do what it is I've got to do, and so I don't do it. Or you know, I just get distracted, and it's like, okay, I'm not doing any art today. I'm doing some other little, you know, side hustle business venture that's just going to get me. It's going to help pay the rent for today, but it's like, oh, I should really be doing the artwork or whatever. So it's like, for example, I've got this like my to-do list, crossed everything off on it now. So this was, I think, pretty much something that I did at like the start of the year. We're still in January, and it's done. But a lot of the stuff on there wasn't necessarily artistic things. There was one thing on there that was, it's one of these card artworks I've done for my 2-player head-to-head card game. So that was an art thing that I wanted to get done. But yeah, most of it was just I wanted to get to a stage where this year I thought, right, 2005, you know, fresh start. Let's try and yeah, just tick everything off the sort of to-do list. Just all those things in life that start to mount up, especially once you get into, you know, your late 20s, late 30s, 40s. Every decade after sort of becoming an adult, you start to accumulate. It's kind of like a chore list, or oh, I want to do that, you know, like a project list, or one day I want to finally get round to that. And for me, a lot of that's creative. I've got like a list of, I used to call it my 101 things to draw list, but it's way above 101 things. And I'm at the point now where I realise I'm never going to complete it. But on top of the artistic endeavours, there's just stuff like, oh, okay, I want to do a deep clean of the house. You know, I want to do some spring cleaning, or okay, I haven't cleaned my car for a couple of months. That needs, you know, let's put that on the to-do list. Or I need to clean out my kitchen cupboards. Or oh, that shelf is broken. I need to sort that out. Or you know, that handle on that drawer, it's a bit loose. I need to tighten that up. Just general maintenance, really. And I wanted to get to a point where I'm like, yep, everything's in its place. Everything has a home. Every pen has a pot or a drawer that it goes in. Every, you know, paper clip is in a little place where paper clips are, instead of just, you know, some random thing in the bottom of a drawer somewhere. So I feel, you know, like actually quite a lot of satisfaction from, like, at least that part of my life, you know, tidying my room, tidying my yeah, just tidying things up, as Jordan Peterson would say. So yeah, I did that. Everything's now tidy, everything's in its place, everything's good to go. There's no things hanging over me. There's no, oh, this program on my laptop doesn't work, or I've got this issue where things keep crashing and oh, my laptop keeps resetting itself, or oh, my phone battery doesn't charge properly. Or no, there was that. I've sorted all of that out as far as I'm aware. So now there's nothing to stop me, because I did wonder whether, you know, when you just accumulate a lot of junk, like in your mind, from just jobs that need doing, things that start to mount up, you just can get quite overwhelmed. So I thought, if I can clear the ledger and just start from scratch, then I'd be on a better path to sort of move forward again. And I am now, because I don't have that big long list of things to do and thinking, oh, which one should I do today? It's like, well, anything I do today or like do tomorrow, it's going to be one of 3 things, you know, because I don't have to think, oh yeah, I need to, you know, I need to fix that problem with my car, and you know, like basically, well, I guess what I'm saying is I've now eliminated any reasons to procrastinate, or maybe I could still procrastinate, but there's no little jobs that I feel like, oh, you know, I haven't worked on this art project today because, you know, I needed to do X, Y, and Z. So they're all out the way. Happy about that, proud of that, because, you know, stuff like that happens in life. You just accumulate things that need fixing or solving or resolving, or, you know, you might think, oh, you know what, I need to change my phone plan to a different provider, or I need to swap over to a different, you know, utility company so that my energy bills aren't going to be so high, or whatever it is. And once you've done all of that and you're really satisfied that, yep, everything is as it should be, everything's working efficiently, the idea, or my idea, was that I could start working on things. So I think hopefully I'll be able to, this month, get back on track to working on what is, it's an art project, but it's more of a personal project, which is to complete my my Total Blast card game. So yeah, I did a little play test, little 2-player play test with it again today. Well, I did two 2-player play tests, and again I just thought, okay, I'm creating this 2-player card game. I've created all the artwork for it. I've tweaked the rules. I refined a few bits, which I think make it 10% more exciting. And now it's there. And again, it's one of these things where, you know, I'm a person on YouTube who has, at this point, oh, what are we, 40-something minutes into the video? We're probably down to like one person that's actually viewing up to the 40-something minute mark. So, or maybe even no one at this stage. So I could say whatever I like, but yeah, it's funny that I'm a complete unknown as far as, you know, the world knows right at this minute. And I feel like I've got this game that's good. It is genuinely good. Is it the best thing ever? Probably not. Is it the best card game ever? Probably not. Is it going to be the next, you know, big deck builder, you know, the likes that the world has never seen, something like, you know, the board game Dominion, or card game? You know, like when that came out, it's like, wow, this was like the kind of the OG, the best. Yeah, but I don't know what I'm doing right now. I just think I've created something original, good, that people would enjoy. I feel sad that I don't think it's going to get out to this sort of audience or the sort of amount of people that it would deserve to get out to. Because this is the thing, like you can create like an independent little project, an independent game or something, but it just then exists in the world. And like, how would anyone ever find it? How would anyone ever discover it? Why would anyone want to discover it? You know, every day people are just bombarded with stuff. Like if you're someone that uses and spends a lot of time on the internet, like especially like, you know, Instagram Reels, TikTok, YouTube, you've got enough every single day to completely occupy your time until the end of time just on those social media channels. And then if you wanted to maybe try something else, oh, you know, I'm going to try a new hobby. I've heard this sort of modern board game thing, you know, not just Monopoly and Connect 4, but, you know, these newer games like, Gloomhaven and Brass and Spirit Island or whatever. Oh yeah, I've heard of these ones. Maybe I'll give these a go. But yeah, you'll give those a go because even within that space, they're like the big names. You know, if you're someone who's never played video games before and you think, oh, okay, I want to play some games. What should I play? You know, you're going to have your go-to recommendations. It's like, oh, okay, well, maybe you should start off with Elden Ring or Super Mario or Resident Evil or just something with high production values and a pedigree. No one would ever recommend you start with some little obscure indie game. But I guess that's just yet another challenge that needs to be worked on. But that's, I mean, as far as my game goes, sort of business game, marketing has always been a weak point for me. I'm someone who just sort of grinds away, gets his head down, builds a product, puts it out into the world, doesn't really, I wouldn't say it doesn't do anything, because like, you know, like the art prints I sell, I've sold thousands of them at this stage. So it's like, it's not like just, you know, grandma and, you know, second aunties come along and said, yeah, we'll have them. But certainly I think people aspire to creating a thing and then it being a thing, you know, it being like a known entity in the world where, you know, you in the gaming space, if I say Tomb Raider or Assassin's Creed or something, you'll know what I'm talking about. Even if you've never played those games, you'll know. And even if you're not a gamer, you'll know. You know, even if you're a gamer's grandma or something, you'll know what Tomb Raider is. You'll know what Pokemon is. You might not know what Assassin's Creed is, but you get the idea. So so yeah, I guess I'm just feeling a little bit reflective on the fact that, you know, I'm going to exaggerate here for effect, but I've created a masterpiece and no one's ever going to know it ever existed. That's kind of how I feel in an exaggerated kind of form. Or maybe I'm just scared that it's not going to get the sort of recognition it deserves. And maybe it doesn't deserve a lot of recognition because, like I say, at the end of the day, I'm just one person on his own, you know. And I've had to go away and design a game concept. I've had to then design the game, become like, you know, playtester, editor, artist, designer, chief marketer. You know, I don't know, pick a role that a typical game studio would do, especially if you think of, I mean, I know it's a different type of thing when you're doing something quite simple like a card game compared to you know, a big epic, you know, video game like a Final Fantasy or something. It's not quite that, but yeah, those big epic games, you just, you know, you complete them and then you watch the credits. Even not even the really massive epic ones, but maybe something like you know, like a small, I wouldn't say small scale, but, you know, like a platformer game that, you know, a few people play and know about. You know, there might be a team of, I don't know, a few hundred people that work on it. When it's literally just you and all you've got is, I don't know, 20 friends or so who are up for play testing it, which is still quite good. Yeah, that's all I got. So yeah, I'm sort of having to learn. Like, I don't even know, like, I'm having to learn even the manufacture. Like, I've got these cards which I've managed to print, and yeah, I've got like a little edge cutter, so I can print these off at home on a home printer, round the edges off using a little cutter thing that I've got. And they look good. They look legit. I put them in sleeves that are just the right size. This looks like a proper legit, card to play with. But it's not quite legit. It's still quite prototypey, and it's not 100%. But the thought of actually getting it mass produced, especially if I kind of went down the route of getting it produced in China, distributed to distribution centres across the country, across across the world, it's I don't know how to do that. I have zero idea. So I think it all just feels very daunting, and you kind of just feel like you're just doing this whole thing on its own, even though it's a relatively small project. To create an indie game on your own is, it's a big undertaking for anyone, even experienced indie game creators. I mean, this is the first game I've ever made on my own, but even for experienced ones, it's going to be a big undertaking. But yeah, I literally just don't know what I'm doing, which is, I guess, that's the story of my life and story of these videos. So stay with me, and hopefully by the end of it, I would have figured out what I am doing and how to start making some progress.